Hello, welcome, one and all to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch.
Hi, I'm Didi DeMayo, your co-host. So happy you joined us today. Light, love, and blessings.
It has been a crazy week here in Texas. So if you didn't know, we got hit by a major ice and snowstorm this past week, and many people were without power and heat and water. And I'm personally still dealing with some busted pipe issues. I think, Didi, you also had some busted pipes in your house. And it was just really, first of all, bizarre, because Texas does not get that kind of weather for that length of time. It was like 3 storms back to back.
It was insane. I found myself, though, having to be thankful or grateful that I can be thankful because I've lived in Texas my whole life, and hurricanes, and we have had ice storms. We've had flooding up to, people, rooftops and things like that. And I've never been affected, never been without power except during hurricanes and that, it's hot. So you're outside, whatever. But this time, I did experience the bursting of the pipes and the flooding of the bedroom and stuff. And I was a little bit, jarred by it. I was like, how did this happen? So I can't imagine people that, I'm laughing about it because it's such a small thing compared to what could have happened.
That's right.
I'm just so grateful that that's all. We needed a little bit of bath water and toilet water, whatever, So I just went into the camping mindset and did our thing,
Yeah, same. I feel so grateful. We have friends and relatives who came and rise to the occasion, and everybody is just reaching out. That's what I love about Texas community, and I think other communities too, but particularly Texas, because we really reach out to our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And we see who needs what and where can we help. If I have my needs met, how can I help someone else? And I really appreciate that energy. And some people even lost their lives. I mean, it was devastating for some. So we're really thinking about those families today who've lost people. And if you know someone, or if you yourself know that you need prayers or light or healing or just positive energy, you can just request that you be on our light intercession list. Didi's flashing it up right now. You can text their name to 800-805-EDGE, EDGE. And that number, you can just text it and say a person's name and say LIL, and then we'll know to add them to our list.
Yeah, so the phone number is 805 500 EDGE 3343. And you can message there, or you can message us on our Facebook, or send comments in YouTube. I mean, however you can get to us. I mean, there's emails. It's all listed on our website. So just, let us know if you need prayer or something you feel like we can help with. Let us know.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Didi. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that correction. I had that number.
That's okay. It's okay.
All right. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Welcome to Beyond the Edge. And again, I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch, and this is Didi DeMayo. And today we're going to talk about clearing entities. And I have known our guest for at least 13 years now, and I've taken some of his trainings and we've done some workshops together, and he's truly an amazing person. So I want to introduce you guys to Brian Stovall. And Brian his organization is called Activate One. And for over 20 years, Brian has empowered and educated people and businesses around the world to transform and to know what they know. Brian facilitates entity clearing, family and organizational constellation, access consciousness, access bars, access energetic facelift. I'm so curious about that.
I'm in line. Can you do anything about stomachs? No.
It works on all kinds of things.
I love it. And just so many more classes that support spiritual growth and change. So welcome, Brian. I'm so glad you're here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here. Yay. How does it get better? Wonderful.
So Brian, go ahead. You want to say something first?
Oh, no, I was going to say, tell me what you would like to talk about and what you guys would like to know about today. That would be super amazing.
So you're a lifelong learner, first of all. When it comes to energy work, you have you have so many certifications, so many trainings, and I want to talk a little bit about that first because I want people to understand who you are and why you've come to do the work that you do, because I think that's an important piece of being able to trust someone with this kind of work. So first of all, I want to know what was your introduction to healing and energy work?
So when I was young, about 5 years old, I had experiences with entities. I even had one that kind of held me down and froze me. However, I later on, like maybe even just about a year ago, learned that it just wanted to hand me something. So that was actually, and gift me an energy. So that was kind of strange because sometimes you think things are different than they are, and then you find out they're totally different than what you thought they were. So that's super amazing. And that's when I was later on, when I started training in jiu-jitsu, I learned about ki energy, and then I trained in about 9 different modalities. And so I just kept going. Once I found I could change things in myself, that I didn't have to actually hold on to things, I could shift and change them and let them go. I started, okay, well, if I don't have to have this anymore, I'm going to change as much as possible and see what else is possible. And because I made myself wrong for a really long time, because I was so aware of other people's energies that I thought it was all about me. And it was just like, God, this is so horrible. What's the matter with me? However, I was just picking up on all the energies around me, and I wasn't acknowledging that, hey, they have stuff going on with them and it has nothing to do with me. And so, and that's amazing, because I made myself so wrong for so long, and it can make you really sad too if you take on so many energies. So if you're super aware of, like I am, then be aware that you can actually send energies back. And there's an easy tool to do this with, and this comes from Access Consciousness. And I'll grab tools from a lot of different places, because that's what I look at, all the modalities that I've trained in as the little toolbox. So you just kind of use what you use when you use it. And that's beautiful. Access Consciousness has this tool where it's just, who does this belong to? And return to sender. And that's so easy. It sounds so weird because it's so simple. However, what you're doing is you're asking the universe, who does this belong to? The universe knows who it really belongs to, not who you think it belongs to. And then you're saying, return to sender, and you're allowing it to go to the originator, not who you think it goes to. So if you allow it to go back as far as possible, then you set you and everybody else free with that. And it becomes a great actual lightness in your world. Because if something is heavy in your world, that means it's a lie. If you've walked into a room before and it's been real heavy and contracted and you're like, oh, I don't want to be here, that's kind of like what I'm talking about. And then if you walked into a room where it's like really expanded and open, beautiful and bright, that's like the lightness. So like if you look at those energies, the heaviness and the lightness, that is a great tool to use to allow you to know something rather than thinking about it, because a lot of times you think about it and get stuck about it. And so go beyond that with the energy and look at the lightness and the heaviness of it. Okay. So if who does this belong to? If it's heavy, that means it's not yours. It's a lie. And when you say, who does this belong to, and return to sender, it gets lighter. Remember, that's the truth. You're actually choosing more of the truth of you.
Wow. That's terrific, Brian. And I love what you're saying, because it really speaks to people who are empathic, right? Mm-hmm. Like yourself, people who say, and I get this question a lot from clients and friends and just people who I interact with. And they say, well, how do you keep from taking on other energies? Mm-hmm. Because if you're empathic, you're like a sponge and you're soaking it up. And so it sounds like what you're talking about is a way to give those energies back to people who it doesn't belong to us. So it's not mine. Here you go. You can have it back. Right?
That's correct. And you don't have to have a point of view about it, like, because some people, I've told this to people and say, well, I really don't want to give it back to them because I'm afraid it's going to hurt them. Well, hold on, wait a second. You've been doing this for a long time, taking other people's energies and you're actually kind of being unkind to them because it's their energy and only they can unlock it. So if you're holding an energy for anybody right now that's not yours, then send it back to them. So it may be the key that they've been looking for a long time, and you've been sitting there with the key. And so would you just hand them their key back right now? And so you could look at it in a different way. It doesn't have to be unkind. It can be something that's a great gift. So who does this belong to? Return to sender.
Well, and I get that. Whenever you were talking about that, immediately, so song lyrics come to my my thought whenever people say certain things or stories or pictures. And I got Elvis Presley's "Return to Sender," address unknown. Right. So we're going to just release it at that point, and then not even, like you're saying, trying to dissect it or make a judgment on where something belongs or why it belongs or how it will affect that person. That's not, we don't need to know all that. We don't need to involve ourselves in that.
No, you really don't. And because a lot of times what people will do is decide, I know it was you. And so they'll put it was right here. And then what if it was all the way back over here?
Yeah.
And you stopped it here and it could go to here and let go all the way. So which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the one where you have the judgment and the conclusion? Or are you going to just let everybody be free over here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great insight. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later, because I'm excited about that, because that's something really interesting. Like the family system entity stuff is incredible.
Yes.
I do want to get back to that. So before that, one thing I want to talk about, because I think this is an important piece to that foundation we were talking about. One of the most powerful intensives I've done was heart work. And you invited me to do some heart work retreat. Because, it was something that you were involved in for many years. And I feel like this provided you a strong foundation for much of the work you do today. So what's heart work? And first of all, what is it? And then what was your biggest takeaway from those retreats?
Well, heart work is just it's a process of being present, and it's allowing you to look at the things that are stuck in you and then allowing you to shift them, change them, and release them, and then be more present with you. And so it's just a set of tools that allows a greater presence in your life. And it's really amazing. It comes from Dale Goldstein. And there's a book, it's How to Get What You Really, Really Want, Heart Work. And so it's a beautiful book. So it's actually a workbook. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you can actually work it like a workbook because it has questions as you work through it. So and it did give me a lot of presence work when I was working that. There's lots of techniques like repeating questions where you ask a question into whatever is actually stuck in you. And so you keep asking, what is this? And then you drop down underneath that and you just keep answering whatever the energy is there. Like if you said, stuck heavy. Okay, what is this? And then, it's tightness. Just whatever comes. And you just keep asking questions into it so that it can actually give you a different energy, space, consciousness, whatever you would like to be with that. Okay.
That's awesome. And I can tell you when I went, I got so much out of it. There's the repeating question is one way, free-form dance type thing, a partner work, breath work. Breath work is extremely important for our own self-healing. So before anyone attempts to do healing work for others, I think it's an important aspect of healing to start with self, right? And to start with presence and knowing more about where your own self-healing needs to go. And I'm not saying you can't do it concurrently, because I've seen that happen, right? People work on themselves while they're working with others. I think that's great, because you learn a lot from that exchange, right? But I feel like in my understanding, it's really important to keep working on self and presence and self-presence. Do you think
the more you have of you, then the more you can be an invitation for others to be themselves. And so that's what Brandy is referring to right here is like, be more of you. Like, and it doesn't always have to be like working on yourself in workshops. It's just choosing in your life to be you. And so do the workshops, work on yourself. Also in your life, make choices that make you shine in the way that you are, that difference that you are. That's the way you actually be more of you and become an invitation. And that's that empowerment of you, and you're empowering others to invite themselves to be themselves also.
That's beautiful.
I think too, using the terminology work, Brandy and I talk about this and it's come up in several shows, the term work. It seems like work maybe to some people, but for us, I think it's become just about allowing and enjoying the process and the journey, and recognizing, being not afraid to recognize what doesn't serve you, and how it looks to not have that, to let it go. And I like to simplify it and take the ugly word out, work, because none of us like that.
Well, I don't mind. I like that word.
I don't like it. I do not like it. No, I don't like it,
because I like the work.
No, I don't like it. It doesn't set well with me. Maybe I need to change that. But I mean, I used to think it was a burden and effort and work. And like, no, I don't like that. So I want to.
Well, you could, and this is the funny thing that you could do right there, and referencing back to what we just started with, is that you could even ask, is that mine, someone else's, or something else's? And that goes along with the who does this belong to? So you would say, is this mine? Okay, if it is mine, I'm going to work it and see what that's about. If it's someone else's, I'm going to send it back. Say, who does this belong to? Return to sender. If it's something else's, then it could be the earth, or it could be something totally else. So just whatever that else that is, send it back to that. So, and so you could look at that with what you were just talking about with work, because what you choose with work and how your points of view create your reality. So if you have the point of view that work is hard, or it has a weird definition to you, then you're going to create that in your reality. So what would you like to choose with that? And you could actually shift and change your point of view, maybe. And then maybe, did you buy that from mom and dad or someone else? And then you could look at that and then let that go too.
Okay.
That's cool. You can do that with anything, right, Brian? Anything that we have resistance to.
Well, that's anything. And so you're just giving me a great example there. That's why I kind of hopped on there. And so,
but that's the thing about bringing things to the surface. Even as we go through the show, there's things about ourselves that we recognize as we talk and share information for other people. It's like, and I don't want to miss one thing. I'm going to absorb it and use it, and I'm going to let people know that I am using every tool presented.
Well, that's the beauty of it, is you look at them as tools so that you can actually shift and change things.
Yeah.
So what if what you have in your life right now is changeable?
Yes.
And so in that, you can actually shift and change into something greater. You don't have to stay stuck. It's your choice. You're creating your reality, not anyone else. And so everywhere you're waiting for someone else to do it for you, or looking for a teacher to do it for you, then will you just start to choose you?
Yeah. Wow.
You can allow people to contribute to you when you go to these classes. However, acknowledge that you're choosing those things. Whatever shows up in that class, whatever it is, you created that, you chose that, and it's a contribution that you're creating in your life.
I think we all three of us share the idea and philosophy, the truth that we create our reality, right? I think a lot of people watching also share that belief. And in doing so, we are accepting a responsibility for what we create. And that's I feel like that's a really important part of being able to change your world. Instead of going, oh, it's your fault, I'm like this, or staying in that victimhood, and instead of doing that, owning it and saying, oh, I've chosen this. Oh, okay. That's so empowering, isn't it?
Yeah. And then a lot of times it's not that you're not acknowledging that something actually occurred. You're saying, okay, this did occur. However, what did I choose to create this? And how can I choose differently than this? So if you use it as a stepping stone and as a growth, like moving forward, rather than a stuck in a roadblock point, then, because a lot of people will go into roadblock and just stop there. And I'm like, oh, just like you're talking about, poor me. So, okay, well, you can stay there. Is that fun for you? I mean, that's a choice. Or you can choose something different and keep stepping forward and looking for something greater. So invite yourself to be more and to choose more.
I love it. Beautiful. So talk to us a little. You mentioned access consciousness. Talk to us a little bit about access consciousness. Tell me what that is.
It's a set of tools that is really about empowering you to know that you know. It has a lot of different like body processes. There's a nice process called the bars, and you just touch these points on the head and it deletes just all these stuck points. Like imagine your computer that has a trash can that's full and you never deleted all the junk in it. So you run your bars, you get rid of that junk in there. And so for me personally, what it does is like if I have something crazy going on in my world and I can't stop thinking about it and it keeps looping in my head, I run my bars and it melts away and I actually see a new direction. I'm a lot more relaxed. And it's just like, whoo, okay, now let's choose something different instead of going in that circle going, I don't know how many times have you thought about something over and over again and it drove you crazy. So maybe get your bars run. So try it out. So
yeah, I tell you, I've done it. It's the most relaxing experience I've ever had.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Super amazing. And there's hundreds of body processes that are designed to empower the body to be more, to shift and change things. There's different things that are magical, like symphony sessions, where it's inviting you to be all of the energies that you be, and then access those and see how you can shift and change things with all energies, like a symphony, like plays all the different instruments. And so they call it symphony sessions. Those are amazing. So there's so many different things. There's classes on entities. So there's all kinds of different subjects and different ways you can go inside of access. It's absolutely phenomenal. I enjoy it a lot because it's changed me so much and then allowed me to shift and change. And I've facilitated a lot of classes and seen a lot of people change themselves too.
Awesome.
So he mentioned entities. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going next. That's exactly where I was going next. So
great.
So for first question I have about that. Okay, so entities is such a broad subject. Yeah. I mean, it really is. There's so many different things that we can talk about in terms of entities. I kind of do want to go where the energy flows. I have a couple of questions and then we can let it go from there. But if anyone has a question, if you're watching this now and you're watching this live, if you have a question or a comment or some kind of experience, then you can text your question to 805-500-EDGE, that's 3343, and ask Brian. He's more than willing to answer any questions you have.
Of course.
First thing I want to know is, how would someone know if they have an entity or an entity attachment of some kind? I mean, in my mind, there's like sometimes there's a presence in a space, but I also know that there can be a kind of attachment, meaning something attaching to your energy field. So how can someone know that they're being affected by an entity?
Okay. So, well, first off, let's go into entities are just something that's defined. So you and I are entities also. We just have bodies. Okay. So then we have entities that don't have bodies, like disembodied people. And then we have like demons and then other beings from other dimensions and ETs and all kinds of different things. Okay. So there's a lot of different, classifications, different entities. I mean, there's a billion more that I could list out. I'm just going to list those for time's sake right now. So with that being said, so I'm going to I've trained for a long time in a different way that I learned since I was a kid. And then I've also trained with access consciousness about entities. And so I'll use some of the things that I would do in both, because what I learned is to always stay in the question. So I learned that from the heart work also, and then also from a lady that showed me how to clear entities a long time ago. And her name is Donna Lee, and she's super amazing. And so you just got to keep asking questions is what it is. And so you got to be, so we'll move back to the access consciousness, that light and heavy. That's a great way to actually, and if you know muscle testing, that's another way too. So truth, you can say truth because it'll bring up the truth, and you can say truth, do I have an entity? And then if it's light or heavy, so true, not true. Okay, so use that. See how you can use that light and heavy to do so many things. You could ask that any question, light and heavy, and then start using that tool to actually, move yourself into the lightness, because the lightness is your truth. So the more you move into your truth, the more you be your truth, the more you're being you. So same thing with entities. So you're asking them, okay, show truth. I have some entities. Okay, just because you have an entity doesn't mean you need to get rid of it.
Sure.
Okay, so entities are not all bad. They're good and bad, just like people. So you know good and bad people right now in this lifetime, and you're like, okay, so same thing with entities. So is this one contributing to me, light or heavy? Okay, so if it's heavy, okay, it's time to let it go. Then see, you can be an energy that just asks it to leave. That's one of the easiest things that you could do. You could actually claim and own your power and potency, and then just you could actually expand your energy out, and then just kind of imagine you were expanding out, and then next thing you know, you pushed them all out of your house or the room you're in or your car or wherever you're at. I mean, you can do that right now. Just imagine your energy expanding and be that power and potency. Okay, so be the power and potency. Don't be an energy that's afraid or small, because they know they can control you if you actually be that smallness or that fear energy. They feed off that fear energy. So just be strong and powerful and potent like you truly are. You are and always have been an amazing, magnificent, powerful, potent being. So imagine pushing out right now, pushing, and you can lower all your walls and barriers. That's a weird thing too. It's like, because if you have those walls and barriers up, then you're creating a fight situation. Like, wow, we need to protect from you. So lower your walls and barriers. And now relax, be relaxed with them. And they relax with you, and now push out. And see how it seems, if you notice the energy, you may notice it starts to get lighter. And remember what lighter is? The truth.
The truth. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now, if it's a little different in your place, cool. And if you don't notice anything, do not judge yourself. Okay, because some people, it takes a little while to be energetic like that. Just use the questions and your knowing. If you know how to muscle test, do that. Okay, so, okay, truth, are they gone? And you muscle test and you get a yes. Okay, wonderful. What works for you? There's not a wrong or right way. It's like find the way that actually is convenient and easy for you to use. So you see how that is. So yeah.
You're talking about clearing and not being afraid, but what if someone doesn't know, like they're not sure and they are afraid? What do you have something that teaches someone how to release that fear and learn not to fear it? I mean, we were talking last night, but I don't know if we covered that question. So curious.
Okay, so fear is a lie that they're creating so that they can control you. So if you acknowledge that it's a lie, and then most likely when you ask the question, it's going to be heavy because it is a lie. And so, and especially if you say truth before, you can actually, because what you're doing when you say truth is you're bringing the truth. And so, because would an entity lie to you? Of course, they would lie to you. And they would, yeah, whatever. And so if you say truth, then you can actually bring the truth. Okay. So, and not every entity will lie to you. I'm just saying that you can actually bring the truth with it. Okay. So some entities want to contribute and are so amazing. And so just be aware of that too. Because if you are afraid, like what you're talking about, you're cutting yourself off from all entities. So what about the ones that are wanting to gift you the universe?
Yes, I was going to ask about that. You mentioned that the entity, when you were younger, you found out later, wanted to gift you something. So what kind of gifts can they offer us?
Well, like in that instance, it was just an energy. It was just an energy, and it was just very light and very beautiful. And so I hadn't asked the question, and I'm not sure why, but I was in an access class, and they asked us to do an exercise like that. And I remember that entity holding me down, and I remember being really afraid at that point because I was only 5 and could not move. And I was like, oh my God. And so I forever thought that it was just trying to do something to me instead of asking a question. So you can see how important asking a question is, because this entity was hanging out for a very long time. And finally I asked a question. Hey, did you want to gift me something? Was this, because you can usually clear, communicate, receive, cooperate with entities. You can do all kinds of things with entities. So I got receive with this entity, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. I was hoping, because I've been like, ever since I was a little kid, thinking you were trying to do something to me, and you were really scary. This little this dark cowboy figure. And so when I lowered my walls and barriers, just like we just did a minute ago, and I said, okay, I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm not choosing that anymore. I'm going to just receive. I got this really beautiful energy that just kind of washed through my whole body, my whole being. And after that, I saw in my mind's eye, or my knowing, or my awareness, I saw it just leave. After that, it was like waited all that time. It was so patient. It was so amazing. I was like, so like, look at that. Like, what are you refusing maybe that you could be choosing that is so beautiful, that would change your life? And so look at that entity. It waited a long time to actually change my world. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So it's, to go back to your fear, is like, yeah, you could choose fear, which is a lie, or you could choose to ask some questions. So keep asking questions like, okay, is this entity here to contribute to me? Does this entity stuck? Maybe this entity is stuck. Just stay in the questions, like keep asking questions to figure out what is going on here. Because a lot of times they're in a loop, and they don't have a sense of time, and they may be holding on to something, like the red vase behind me. They're like just standing there holding the red vase and saying, this is my vase. And 1,000 years goes by. This is my vase. So it sounds crazy, but that's a lot of times what maybe entities may be choosing, because they haven't completed something. Yeah.
Right.
They haven't
We talked about that
something.
last night briefly. Was, the experience I had, which I've had many, but one, with spirit. Well, I'm not, should I say the store name? I don't know. But anyway, a store. And I was in there, and, the being that actually took advantage of me being fully open for someone to learn Reiki, the class to learn Reiki. And it knew that I would be able to sense it. So it just like was sitting on my, sitting on my chest. And I'm like, hey, so I told everybody to stop doing the energy work so I could figure out if it was one of them or something else. And it was something else. And of course, that particular store, one of the things is, that it's a haunted, house, an old place or whatever. The ghost, or the being or entity, it was actually a being, a human that had passed. And they just wanted to be let go. They didn't want to be there to keep being an attraction. Yeah, exactly. The store wasn't real happy with me, but I was like, I have to honor their request. They reached out to me, and like they're touching me, and the pressure was their fear. They're not mine, but theirs. And it was like, I really want out of here. That kind of let me out kind of thing.
Beautiful. And so acknowledge the awareness that you have there, and the change and choice that you allowed the entity to have, because entities have choice too.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times they get stuck in a crazy choice, like I was talking about hanging on to like a vase back there, but it could be anything. I'm just giving you a vase as an example. So it is their choice to choose something different, where they go, what they be, if they choose another body, if they just go into consciousness and just become one with everything, whatever that is their choice that they would like, because there could be a trillion different choices that they could choose. And so, and if it's something that they would like to choose and it's greater and it's amazing, I mean, or they could just stay stuck. Some of them just stay stuck. Okay. So, and that's just a choice too. And sometimes you just have to allow them to be where they are, just like people. How many people and friends do you have that keep telling you the same story over and over again, or keep choosing that same man or woman and over again? And they keep telling you like, oh, I don't know why I'm choosing this. Well, hello, it's the same thing. So it's like the entities are choosing crazy things too sometimes. And so, and then sometimes they ask for assistance and say, and when you acknowledge them and say, ping them and go, hey, do you know that you don't have a body anymore? Just saying that to them. Mm-hmm. If you ping them and they turn around, and ping them is kind of like energetically tapping them on the shoulder or wherever. And so, and they turn around and they go, and you go, hey, what's going on? Hey, do you know you don't have a body anymore? Do you know you could actually, you have choice? You can move on? A lot of times they'll go, poof.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just move on, because they didn't know they had that choice or that possibility. And so it's crazy. So it's I wonder what it'd be like if you like just sat down and imagine like collecting it in your hands right now, all your judgments, all your conclusions, all those movies you watched about entities that were telling you things that were not always true, because some of them are mean, but there's a bunch of them that are really nice too and probably could use your assistance. And so will you just collect it all in your hands and we just set it down? Mm-hmm. And just let them just start to, like, don't let something else or someone else actually choose for you. What do you know about entities? What can you be with entities?
Yeah.
How much could you change with entities? And how much could entities assist you in your life rather than you pushing them away?
I want to talk about that some more, Brian, because you mentioned power and potency, right? Okay. So I want to talk more about how the power and potency can help us keep the supportive entities and keep them in our lives, and then kind of see out the non-supportive entities. And I want to get a little specific here, because we talk about fear and how it's a lie. And mm-hmm. I love that you said that. Absolutely, 100%. We're starting to learn, well, some of us have known for a long time, but it's expanding out the awareness of deep-seated corruption and demonic entities that have gotten into our systems. I mean, systemically, these entities, right? So I love the idea of curiosity. Yes, keep asking those questions. I want to talk about how to keep people's power and potency fortified so that they know, and what we say in Theta is, I'm impervious to evil, right? It's a belief that we incorporate into our system. I'm impervious to evil, but we could be impervious to anything that might be nefarious. What would you suggest we do to fortify our power and potency, to know that, not just, have an intention, but to know to the core of our being that we are the most powerful in this situation?
The first thing that comes into my awareness is to be aware and to not cut things off. And so even if because you want to be aware of everything, all the good and all the bad. Because here's why. If you look at this, if you cut off the bad, then you're cutting off your awareness of the bad. So when the bad comes, you've cut it off, and then you're not aware of it, and then it just slaps you. So it's not that you have to take it on and be that energy. is like, just allow it, and just like open your, like, that's that walls and barriers again, pushing down those walls and barriers, because you think you're protecting yourself, which does an infinite being really need protection? And that's a weird thing, because a lot of times we believe, oh, we got to protect ourselves. Well, okay, which one is going to work better for you? Being protected and cutting things off like we're talking about, or being aware farther out and seeing it before it comes and moving, making a different choice. So what I would invite you to do is, with that power and potency that you were talking about, is expand your awareness and expand your allowance too. Because some things are going to be like, oh, what is that? So be an allowance of it. It's not, you don't have to change it. You're just allowing it so that you can be aware of it, so that you don't get slapped by it. Because how many times have you had something in your life, you're like, oh my God, why did that happen? Okay, so if you keep expanding your awareness, and then you can actually send that out. Okay, so then that's something that I would suggest with that. So, and keep acknowledging you as the dominant entity in your life. And that doesn't mean that you're like a stuck-up person. That just means that you're powerful and potent. And in this powerful and potency, you can also be this elegance and this invitation. So, and you are not a doormat. Okay, so in that power and potency, you can be power and potency. Be like, no. Just, it's okay to be no. And like, even to entities, no. You can go now. Just like, okay, if you like, so entities like to, because they don't have doors, or they just walk through walls and do everything. So, however, if you had somebody walk into your house that you didn't even know, would you just let them stay? If they were like, because that's the thing, is like, you got to ask questions there. Are they contributing? Are they not contributing? What's going on here? However, if they just walk in and just bugging you, okay, no, you could go outside. Now, that doesn't mean you don't assist them, because if they know that you have abilities, they're going to keep bugging you. So, so be aware of that. So don't ignore your abilities. If you have abilities, they're going to keep coming. So you're going to have to do something to assist them, because they know they have picked you because they see you and they're like, oh my God, you have something that can assist me. Please assist me. And so they like keep coming back. And so,
so touching on that real quick, one side of, what we were talking about is fear, but then people that really aren't afraid, they just are like, I don't think I want people to think I'm crazy because this is happening, and beginning to embrace all, like you say, all that you be is like, your world is so different and so much freer when you stop ignoring a gift and
but truth is truth.
The world thinking you're crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. It goes back to what Brian was saying. Truth is truth, and truth is light. Right.
Yes.
Right. Follow what you know, and do this. They say this in Access all the time. Just for me, just for fun. Never tell anyone. So if you don't have to share it with other people, you could just do it for you and make your world lighter.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the thing, is that if you're not doing this as a profession, and then you don't have to share it with everybody. Right. It's okay. Just be who you are and make the changes with the beings that you can assist, and just acknowledge that. So let's acknowledge everybody right now, everything that you've chosen and acknowledge with these entities, and even just if it's just in this show, will you acknowledge it and let yourself move forward and grow that? Because when you acknowledge things, they actually grow and get greater and easier for you.
That's beautiful. So I have a personal story I want to share. So I have a best friend who lives in the Houston area, and he's a flight attendant, and he's often not home. But when he is home from time to time, this was several years ago, he would hear things in his apartment, and it would be a loud clang, and he'd be in the bedroom, and he'd come out and he'd say, "I know you're in here. You can get out now. You can leave now," So he was making commands around it. It was kind of cute and kind of funny, but at the same time, he'd tell me, "Brandy, I don't believe in all this, airy fairy crap." So one day I was at his apartment, and I was taking a selfie in the mirror, and I was taking for my boyfriend at the time.
You want me to bring it up?
Yeah. So I want to show everybody this one little picture here that I took. And if you can see, I drew the little rectangle around the face that was in this orb that came through. It's very clear. This is not, to me, when I saw this, I was thinking, oh, this is the thing that's been making the mischief. And so I did what you suggested, because I did learn that technique. And I was just curious, what do you need? Why are you here? What's going on? And what I heard was, I just want to be seen. I just want to be heard. I just want somebody to know I'm here, which was very interesting.
Well, that's wonderful. And so sometimes that's all it takes. And then they transform into something else, move somewhere else, do something else, choose something else. And so that's cool. So that's really, really awesome that you actually had that experience. And then you actually acknowledged the entity for, what it was really desiring, because that is what gives a ease and a choice in the not just for you, for them too. And so that's the amazingness of it. And so imagine if you didn't have a body and nobody was paying attention to you. Would you be happy? Nobody was listening. Nobody was like acknowledging you, and you're trying like, hey,
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I'm here. Like the Who's in Whoville. We're here.
Exactly. And so and even sometimes moves into like flickering lights, doing things like that. So it's not, a lot of times it's not to scare you, it's to get your attention, because you're not paying attention. Look at me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you just pay attention to me, damn it.
And it's the same. Humans are the same, right? Like humans are the same. Like we do the same things. We do things to get people's attention. We say things to get, be heard and be seen. And it's the same. And I've started thinking that way more often, as above, so below, and everything in between. It is the same for everything, as far as like, let's see, there's beneficial and non-beneficial bacteria. Yeah. There's beneficial and non-beneficial energies, right?
Well, that's cool that you say that too, because if you look at that, that micro world of bacteria wasn't discovered for a very long time. So look at this discovery of the entity world as the same thing. It's like, okay, how much have you forgotten? Because nobody's sitting there. Most people are not sitting there showing you about entities. Not nobody, but most people are not. Okay, and so this society is like, no entities, no entities, and then yet they're all over the place. And there's it's like air. You walk outside, air is all around you. Air is in your house. Entities are everywhere. So it's just because you're not actually paying attention doesn't mean they're not there.
Right. I get tickled at the people that, I've gone ghost hunting just for fun, with groups or whatever. But the realization is you don't have to go anywhere. They're everywhere, because for eternity, since the world began, beings have died. I mean, I'm probably standing on a place that somebody died, right? And they never moved. But of course, I don't feel that. But just as an example, I was in Spain in a city eating lunch, and this guy had to point out, well, you're sitting where Christopher Columbus had a heart attack and died. And I'm going, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm wondering if his energy is there now, because it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to go somewhere. They're right there, all kinds
Yeah.
of beings, entities. Yes.
Well, something that's really cool, if you acknowledge and look at it, so like even your car, even houses, even buildings are like entities themselves. Being in Italy, touching the Pantheon for me, the Pantheon was live to me. It just,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. What is this? Like, this thing just blew me away. So because you walk around the corner and just goes, the energy just went boom. And I was like, wow, look at that. And I went over and touched it. I was like, stood next to the door and I was like, oh my God, this thing is amazing. So it was a very like contributory energy. And so it's interesting that we make just entities into just people without bodies or something like that. There's all kinds of different beings, and so it's just like that micro world that we were just talking about. The bacteria, there's all kinds of different bacterias and everything like that, and so funguses, all kinds of different things. And so if you look at that, it's like, wow, what else is possible? And if you just open yourself up and relax with it, and then you can actually have more receiving with it. And then you start to get to know them a little bit. When you start to get to know things, then you learn more about them. Okay, that's like a common thing that happens a lot of times. People don't understand things, so they judge them and they push them away. They're like, I'm not choosing that. That is this. And I'm never choosing that. And
yeah, that's the walls and the fear and the lack of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so instead of asking questions and seeing if this, hey, is this something that would actually work for me? And I'm not saying that all entities are going to work for you. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever. You're going to run into some that is like, no, you're going to want to say no. Just like you run into people that you go, no, I'm not, that person doesn't work for me. And so it's the same idea. Use your awareness though, not your judgment.
Yeah.
Because judgment just stops and concludes and creates a roadblock like we were talking about in the very beginning.
Great. So I have a question. Whenever we're working with entities and maybe the person who is being affected is maybe aware, but they don't really understand what's going on. So like an infant or a child, like somebody with a disability or Alzheimer's or schizophrenia, who like it's hard to kind of talk to these entities and question how will we go about helping somebody like that, Brian?
Okay, so with that, you can always ask questions. You can clear entities without someone's permission. So you're talking to the entities. Okay, so in fact, that's one of the courses in Access Consciousness is called Talk to the Entities. So if you talk to the entities, you're remember talking about choice with entities. And so you're saying, hey, what's going on here? Why are you hanging out with this person? You know, what's going on with that? So you could clear them that way. What may happen, though, is they may have some sort of agreement with that person, and then they are not going to clear out because they have that agreement with them.
And we're talking about the soul level, right? Soul level.
Well, they may have had another lifetime with them or something like that, or made an agreement and promised, while they were alive and then they died, we're going to be together forever and ever. Amen. And so now they're together forever and amen. One has a body and one does not have a body. And so, and how could you imagine if this one forever and ever, amen, and this one has moved on, it's been a few years or something like that, and trying to have a relationship, and this one's still forever and forever, amen, and which make it difficult to have something else step in and actually be in a relationship with somebody. I'm just giving that as an example. It could be a billion different things.
That's a great example.
I'm just wondering, because you said that forever and ever, amen. In wedding vows, people say, until death do us part. So I'm wondering if
beings never die. Your bodies die.
I'm like, wow. So yeah. And we mentioned that last night because I have a Down syndrome sister that even though I'm aware and I can identify entities, and I've had Brandy, work on stuff, and she has 2 or 3 that just give the whole house a fit sometimes. And we were talking about that last night, is, the contracts you were saying that, and I didn't know that. So there's a lot of information that goes beyond just being aware that there's an entity. It's what you need to do for people that, like Brandy was asking, how can we help these people? Because I have asked her, straight up, do you want them to go away? And she's always acknowledged yes. But why won't they? So I didn't know a lot of these questions.
Let's do this right now. So let's just imagine you could set down all the contracts, like from all your lifetimes right now. So all those agreements, all those crazy, I promise I'll be with you forever, or whatever it is, until death do us part. Will you now just let those all go? Like collect them all together in between your hands right now, just like we did just a little bit ago, and just let them all collect there.
I'm doing it.
And then let's just set them down. And when we set them down, we're going to destroy and uncreate them and dissipate and release them from our bodies, our beings, our life, our living in reality, and we'll just let that go. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, and if you're working with somebody that cannot respond, like what you were talking about, you can actually try to actually get congruent with their energy. So be the speed that they're being, whatever that takes to be congruent with them, and then see if you can actually send messages in that energy, be in the first language of energy. And everywhere you decided that your voice was the communication, will you just set that down too? Okay. And will you allow yourself to be in that first language of energy and communicate with them with energy? You could muscle test, ask questions, whatever works there. There's not a wrong way. See what works for this person. Hey, how can we receive and gift from each other so that we can shift and change this? And then once you get into that congruency, work from there, and then see if you can shift and change and actually let go of those ones that have been the ones that haven't let go for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yes, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, right, wrong, good, bad on.
Yeah.
I started saying the clearing statement there. So so right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, pop, shorts, boys, and beyonds is the clearing statement from Access Consciousness. And if you go to theclearingstatement.com, you can learn all about it. It actually is just like a way to, it's 5 pages of, clearing out. And so it's short speak for those 5 pages, and it's not just a jumble of a bunch of different stuff. If you actually go to that theclearingstatement.com, then you'll actually get a clearer idea of what it is. Just think of it as a magic wand to actually get rid of things. And so you can use it. The short version of that is POC and POD. So ask a question, POC and POD it. And POC, POC is point of creation. That's where you created the judgment, the limitation, the stuckness. Point of destruction, POD, is how you've taken that limitation, that conclusion, and just destroyed yourself with it over time. And so what you're doing is unraveling all that craziness and allowing yourself to, poof, let it go. So how many things do you have that you can pocket pod? Just ask a question, bring it up. You don't have to have the answer. You're just like, what is this? Okay, pocket pod. You have a funky energy. What is this? Pocket pod. So use it. Try it out. If it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, set it down, let it go.
Thank you, Brian. This is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
So if people want to learn more, do you have an upcoming class? And
definitely. On the website, which is activate1.com, that's activateone.com. You can go check it there. So there's definitely a Talk to the Entities class coming up on March 5th to the 7th. There's if you want to just jump in, there's like a symphony group taster, and that's where you get together on a Zoom and just let the energies flow, and it's super amazing, and see how it can contribute to you. That's an easy, just step in and take it class. And so there's all kinds of things listed on the website under classes. So just check it out there. There's all kinds of information there too. So you can learn more about the different modalities and whatever you would like to learn about inside of there. And then even talking about clearing entities in there.
Okay. Awesome. And that's activate1.com, right?
Yes.
And if they want to reach out to you, it's brian@activate1.com.
That is correct. That's if you want to email me, just brian@activate1.com. And so just send me an email. I'll check it out. See what you would like to talk about.
Awesome. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, you can do private sessions too. So there are private sessions. Yeah, if you guys, if that's just something you're looking, if you don't want to just take a class, you just want to call and have a private session. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Go ahead,
Brian. Thank you, Brian. This has been really, really awesome. I think this shines a light on entities for a lot of people, because I don't know that many people really understand entities. So I really appreciate that you being here today and talking about entities and entity clearing, and just I love the idea of not being afraid, and I love what you said. Fear is a lie. Fear is a lie. That is so profound. So profound.
That is amazing, and keep that in your awareness. And so what else can you choose beyond that lie? And how have you been stopping yourself with that lie? And so that's what I would look at. And then POC and pod that. And then also, like, look, if you guys are willing right now, we could do a quick
we're out of time. We have to go.
Oh, you're out of time?
Yeah, we're out of time. I wish we could, but you know what? I'd love to have you back on some other time, so we could talk about this some more, because I think this we could touch on all kinds of different things around entities.
Please, at any time. I'm grateful to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian. We appreciate you, and we're grateful that you were here today.
Thank you.
Yay!
Brian.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for tuning in. On behalf of Dee and myself, we love you so much, and we appreciate you tuning in and just learning more about what's available and what's possible.
Thanks. Bye.